All right, awesome. Exactly 5:45 and everybody is back. Nicely done. All right, so actually let me get back to here because I'm going to actually go into our wiki and get into a summary page here. So yeah, let me just open it up. There were kind of four main ideas that they had in the article. One of them they called storyboarding. There was one related to course design principles. There was one related to cognitive demand. And the last area was about making the videos engaging. So let's just maybe kind of take each of these one at a time. If somebody wants to start us off here, chiming in maybe sort of what the main takeaway was about the idea of storyboarding. Why is it important? What does it look like? Sure, go for it, Mike. Okay, yeah, very good. Anyone want to key off of that, add on to that? Yeah, absolutely. And you're not alone in that. I do too. So anything, any sort of a planning. I mean, this is important with everything. I mean, we've done the whole instructional design piece for our Moodles, and that's kind of the reason we went through that is so that we would have a real focus on what we were trying to achieve and how we were going to achieve it, and could give some thought ahead of time to what the best route to that is. And the same thing is going to be true of videos. Some people, I think, oh, I'm just going to turn the camera on and pretend I'm in front of a class and just talk. But a video is a different experience than being in a classroom. And so having that plan in place, knowing what you're going to say, having a script, having a real clear idea of what you're going to do. You might even throw in what is going to be on the screen. Do I need to create a graphic to insert in the video at this point? The idea of storyboarding comes out of the world of filmmaking and in particular animation, but of any film. And if you've ever seen any of the behind the scenes videos from when they make movies, you'll see some version of a room where they've got these gigantic, whatever, cork boards or something on the walls, and they've got little index cards, and each index card represents a shot that they want. And they all sit down and sequence all of those shots and all of those ideas together first before they take the cameras out into the set to actually shoot it, so that they go in knowing what they're trying to get and how they want to get it and all of that. So yeah, so the key of this is whether it's a short little 30-second or 45-second introduction video, whether it's a more in-depth concept video that's maybe 4 or 5 or 6 minutes long, go into it with a plan. Have an idea ahead of time of what you're trying to do and when, and just don't leave it up to chance. The process of making videos is long enough as it is, and the last thing you want to do is make it longer by going in and not really having a clear idea of what it is you're trying to get to or get out of it. So, all right, anything else on storyboarding? I feel like that one is relatively clear. Just have a plan. So what about the next one? They're talking about course design principles or course design plans. Uh, on the surface, this kind of sounds like the same thing we were just saying with storyboarding, but what was the different take here in terms of the design aspect? Oh, okay, yeah, sure. So making sure that the purpose of the video is clear for your users, for your students. What else? Anybody add on to that? Expand. Yeah, so and that gets in a little bit to the chunking idea, the under 6 minutes. But I think another thing that sort of coming out of this, along with making it clear and linking it to other activities, is just to use video for a reason. And I don't mean the script of it, but if you're going to use video as an instructional tool, make sure that what it is you're trying to teach through the video makes sense to teach through video. I feel like I just said the word video too many times, but does that make sense? That don't just make a video for the sake of making a video. Make a video because it makes sense in terms of supporting whatever your instructional goals are. Again, making a video is kind of an involved process, and uh, the last thing you want to do is to go through all that effort and then in the end have your students be more confused than if you had just given them a handout or something along those lines. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, there are, and they got a little bit into this, there are research based people have researched, how does video impact us? How do we process video? And video is not the best solution for every situation, but for reinforcement, for maybe reviewing an activity. I mean, the nice thing about a video that's under the control of the user is that they can pause and go back and listen to something again and so on. I mean, in a way, this is kind of the way that I use the class videos for this class is if somebody needs to go back and review something that was said in class, it gives them a chance to go back and find that information and access it as much as they want to. Um, but yeah, but again, it's not a video is not the solution to every instructional situation you're going to run into. So if you're going to use video, just make sure that you're using it for a reason and in a way that is going to support your use or support the creation of it. All right. So cognitive demand was the next area, and I think this one in particular maybe related the most to the work that we did last week with the Gestalt. So what was the main takeaway here in this whole cognitive demand topic or subtopic? Yeah, so just like we saw last week with Gestalt, where the way our brains work is they see an image, and that image may have 20 things as part of it, but our brain tries to process it as one whole and tries to take all of those elements and put them together. So particularly with video, because video is moving in real time. I mean, yes, we can pause it and go back and watch it again, but the experience of the video is moving in real time, and it becomes even more important than on a graphic, which is just sitting there still, that we make sure that there's nothing happening in that experience that is going to be overly distracting or overly processor intensive. And in the article, they do go into some detail with the graphics of the two channels. That with a video, you've got what they're hearing and what they're seeing. Yeah, the proximity rule, making sure that you're doing cueing on the screen that lets people know what's the important thing they're supposed to look at. That's kind of background foreground from the Gestalt principles. But yeah, just the idea that we know that the channels in our brain have a limited bandwidth, if we're going to use computer terminology, and only so much information can be stored and processed in real time. So if you have a choice between you sitting, you being filmed on the screen, and in the background is a bookcase and a lot of stuff on it and all of that, or you sitting there on the screen and in the background is just a kind of a generic background. In terms of an instructional approach, that blank background is probably the better way to go, because it's reducing the amount of information on the screen that the user has to visually process and kind of figure out. So that's maybe a little different than if you're creating an artistic video, a movie, where there you're trying to compose pretty pictures and create a setting and all of that. But from an instructional standpoint, anything you can do to reduce that demand. If you're going to have text and speaking, try to get them to line up so that they make sense and they reinforce each other. If the audio channel can be synced up with the video in terms of the processing, then that reduces also the amount of work the brain has to do, because it can treat the text on the screen and the words it's hearing kind of as one unit. So just something to be aware of. Goes back to the question earlier about the video. Is it of us, of our screen, or our voice only? That, if you are going to have yourself be part of your video, think also and pay attention to what's behind you when you're making those videos, so that you're keeping the focus on the content that you want to have people use. Yeah, and I think, again, those of you who have already had one of Dr. Abed's design classes, that's kind of an overarching theme of this whole program, of the whole master's degree, is that especially for I mean, obviously, if you go into the field of, say, graphic design, you're learning about all this stuff from day one because it's important to what you're doing. And what has tended to happen, generally speaking, in education is we're given the technology tools, but are not taught ahead of time what the most effective way is to use those tools. So yeah, hey, now you can show videos in your class. Great, I'm going to go make a video, but nobody ever taught me the best way to make a video that's going to help my students, or to create that handout, or to go to Dr. Bed to select the right font or the number of fonts, or how do I line up things on a page so that they make the most sense. So yeah, that's kind of a general theme overall, is hopefully to help you all think a little bit more about how you're actually using the technology and creating the materials that use technology, and doing it in a way that's a little more informed and hopefully a little more effective. Um, so, all right. Yeah, so let's just kind of keep going here. We got the one more area of engaging. Who would like to chime in maybe a little bit on this one? What was the main takeaway here? Sure, go for it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't. I mean, I think it would be going overboard to say every video's got to have an actual face on the screen that's talking or something. I think they're just trying to say if that works and if it's appropriate, that that is a way to engage people. Um, but I don't. I mean, obviously, we're not going to have every instructional video with a talking head on it or a headshot or something like that. Um, but whatever you can do, if you're not going to have yourself on the screen, just maybe think about what can I do with what is there. I mean, if you're going to have graphics on the screen, maybe you can, even if it's just a still image, could incorporate just a, whatever, a cartoon figure or a little headshot or something. One thing I found interesting from that last section is a lot of times when people go to create a video, an instructional video, especially if they have it scripted, like we've talked about, is that you kind of go into that very, you figure it's better to be sort of very formal and to make sure you're talking very slowly and clearly and all of that stuff. And what they're actually suggesting in this article is that the better way to go is to just be conversational, to try to talk the way you would normally talk and not to try to make it overly formal, and so on, which is a little counterintuitive. Um, Thinking about seeing the instructor like us. Gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, Jill, that can absolutely be a piece of it. Is oh, I see. For so in terms of like he had made a video that was of him talking each week. Yeah, and that's an approach. If you have the time and you're comfortable doing that, I mean, that obviously personalizes the videos to a pretty good degree. Um, yeah, I think that the conversational, to my mind, at least reading through it, was more about just the style that you're presenting in. So we all know that there's you can go into sort of a very formal way to present material, and it tends to end up sounding like going back to 1950s educational film strip videos and things where the language becomes very formal and sort of the way the person talks is very formal. And I think they're just saying, if you are speaking, try to just speak in your normal voice, use your normal inflections, and that, even if people aren't seeing your face, if they're hearing your voice in a much more natural way, that even that goes a long way to creating that personalized kind of feel to it. You know, a student would much rather listen to somebody that just feels like they're sitting there next to them and talking to them than somebody who's standing up in front of a room and presenting a formal lecture or something like that. So yeah, so you know, if he was sitting there and speaking to the camera, then you're getting then you're kind of getting that element of, you know, if I was sitting in the room with him, this is no different than the way he would be talking to me if we were just sitting there in the room together. Um, so if that makes sense. So you know, these, again, just like with the Gestalt, it's an approach. You know, this is not everything there is to know, obviously, about instructional video, but I think this particular article brings up some important things to think about, and I think some things that are relatively easy to achieve as long as you're aware of them. I mean, if you weren't planning on making a plan or a script for a video, then it's just a matter of sitting down and doing that. And uh, you know, if you had a choice between sort of a more complicated thing on the screen and a less complicated thing on the screen, then knowing that keeping it simpler is generally the better approach. And if you can think of ways to personalize the video as much as possible and as much as appropriate. So I think all four of these are relatively straightforward and relatively easy ways to pretty quickly improve the quality of an instructional video, even if you um, have not had that experience. So, all right. So, any other sort of follow-ups or takeaways or anything else anyone wants to ask about or comment on related to this article? All right. So what I'm going to do, and this is a little out of sequence for normal, but I want to kind of organize things tonight so that the last thing I'm leaving you with is getting you set up to do the small group activity. So what I'm going to do is take a moment right now actually to jump a little out of sequence and actually talk about the homework for next week. And then we're going to return back to the wiki, and I'll actually talk about how you use the wiki activity. And there's really one key thing you just need to know for that. And then I'll talk about the small group activity and get you set up to do that, and we'll be good for the night. So homework for next week, it's pretty straightforward. Just like last week where you had production form number 1 for graphics, production form number 2 is this week, and that is video. And what I'm saying, and I'm trying to double up here so you're not just doing extra work, is I want you to target one of those introductory videos that that you need to make anyway for your Moodle. So if you have a good sense of what one of the sections of your Moodle is going to be about, then maybe try creating the short, meaning less than a minute long introduction video for that section. And what you would do for in terms of this homework is get that video made, and then either if you use YouTube, you can upload it to YouTube and then embed it into your forum post, or you can, depending on the size of the video, you can sometimes upload it directly to the forum post, or if you have another way to link to it. But just like you did last week where you created the image and then you uploaded it to your forum post, we're going to do the same thing this week. So you'll make one of those short videos, get a sense of what that process is like, and then once it's completed, attach it to your forum post, give a brief summary of the video just so that if people don't know what your Moodle is about, they have a rough idea of what it is you're introducing. And the point of this is to then get some feedback and maybe some suggestions from other people. So as people post these videos, go in and have a look at what they've done. And if you've got some suggestions or some comments, then throw those in there. In terms of what you use to create the video, again, just like with the graphics, whatever you've used or are comfortable with. If you've got the CCSU laptops, they've got iMovie on them, and iMovie is a pretty easy, straightforward way to create a video. If you're on a PC machine, I'm not sure these days what the equivalent is on PC. I know they used to have Windows, what was it called, Movie Maker or something like that, but I don't think that's a standard piece of the Windows operating system anymore, but I don't know if they've replaced it. I did on our Moodle page provide a page that's got some links to some online video creating. I think did somebody tonight already mentioned WeVideo. There you go. So Taylor, yeah, Taylor. So WeVideo, most of these you can do something on them for free. It varies. So even the Adobe Spark, I think there's a free level for that. That one also does graphic design. WeVideo, you can do a free account. They do limit you in terms of some of the features you've got. I think Render Forest also has a free. Magisto, you can do a 7-day free trial where you have access to everything, but only for 7 days, and then they want you to pay for it. Obviously, since all 7 of you are also in the 520 class, you do also have access to Powtoon. So if you didn't want to do real world video and were enjoying using Powtoon, you could also, since you've got access to Powtoon, you could use Powtoon to make your introductory video too. Okay, Mike, thank you. Video editor is the Windows app. So if you're a PC person and you don't have that on your machine already, then a video editor would be kind of the equivalent to an iMovie if you're in the Windows environment. So through one of these methods, or if you've got another one you like to use or prefer to use, just work on creating one of those short videos and post it, and then comment on others posts as they go. Piece number 2 for the homework, as I mentioned already, is, and this will take you 60 seconds, in the top title section of your Moodle, up in that top area, I just would ask you to add a dialogue activity. It's in the list of activities for Moodle. And what the dialogue activity, like I said, will do is give me a place where I can give you some feedback, but only you and I will see the feedback. So if other students join your Moodle to check it out and to take a look, they won't be seeing the conversation we've been having. So just put it at the top and call it, just so I know what it is, call it like instructor feedback or feedback dialogue or something along those lines. And then my goal this week will be to get to everybody's Moodles, take a look at where you are. If I see anything that I can offer in terms of suggestions or comments, I will put them in that dialogue. So again, that should be a real quick thing that you can do pretty easily. And then beyond that, and this will just be a continuing thing every week for the next several weeks, is just to continue to work on your Moodle. Now that you've got your structure and layout hopefully mostly in place, you should be starting to shift into filling in content. You've got the graphics background. We'll have the video background this week. If you get your first introductory video done and it went really well and you feel moved to make some of the other introductory videos, then you can certainly start creating those. Or if there's other video content that you want to pull in there. Now that you know how to embed videos into the Moodle, that'll help this process as well. So that's really it. There's no discussion forum for next week. It's really just going to be about focusing on getting that first video made and seeing what that process is like, and then just continuing to work on the Moodles themselves. So before I return back to the wiki activity and all of that, any questions about the homework for next week? Um, just a reminder at this point, and I know I've said it before, and it's actually on the syllabus. Next week's class is going to be completely asynchronous. Um, and actually, next week, the 520 class isn't meeting at all. It's just an off week for 520. But for this class, there will be activities posted, but they will be asynchronous activities revolving around audio. One thing that would be helpful for next week as a preparation, maybe I'll add this into the homework. If you don't have Audacity on a machine that you can use, just get that set up. If you have one of the CCSU laptops, Audacity should already be on there. If you've got your own computer, Audacity is free. It's available for Windows and for Mac, for Apple, and it's a free download. So that'll help you next week, is to make sure you've got that software. So, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, Mike, thanks for the input on video editor. I haven't used video editor myself. I had some experience with the movie maker, but I haven't used video editor myself, but I imagine it's relatively straightforward in terms of editing and titles and transitions and all that. Okay, well, let us return now back to the activity for the night, and my hope is to get you set up on this activity and then cut you loose. I think the first part of the activity I would suggest that you complete tonight while everybody is here. Those of you that tried using the chat rooms last week or the week before, they are not the easiest to use, and particularly if people are trying to use the chat rooms when they're not all there at the same time, it gets a little tricky. So the first part of tonight, I think, will be useful, since everybody is here, to at least leave tonight having had the chat room discussion. And then if leaving that, the actual work of creating the wiki posts happens later this week, that's fine. That's the individual level. But I would suggest tonight that everyone at least stay and deal with the chat part of it. So before I talk about the actual activity, let me talk about the wiki activity in general. So the wiki activity in Moodle basically gives your students the opportunity to create what is basically a series of web pages. They function the same way that web pages do, where you can have a series of pages that all have links to each other, and people can navigate from one page to the other and put the content on the pages that they want. So this is different than the glossary and different than the database, in that it's not just creating a single page or a single entry. This is one of the places in Moodle where the students can actually create and format a fair amount of content on multiple pages and really have control over how people navigate through those pages. So the summary page that we were just on is actually a page in the wiki. So the wiki I created for this week is this Analyzing Instructional Videos wiki. And I created this instructions page earlier, so it was already here. But on that, I created a sub page that is a summary page. So when I click on it, it takes me to that page. And you will see that all the stuff I was just typing in is now typed in. And at the bottom of the page is a link that takes me back to the instructions page. So the main thing that you need to know, and that your students would need to know in order to use the wiki activity, is how to create those links, because that is also how you create a page. The way that this wiki works is that if you want to create a subpage, you create it by making the link first. And if you create a link and it's to a page that doesn't exist already, then when you click on that link, it will allow you to make that page. So it's a little different than if you've ever made an actual website, where when you make a website, you make the page first, and then that generates the link to the page. The way they work it here is you make the link, and the link then generates the page for you. So the way that links are created, and I'm going to go in to edit this page so I can create a new page. They must still think I'm in there editing it. So I'm in here looking at the, it's just the regular text box. The key to links are these double square brackets. So for instance, if we look where on the page that summary page link was, you'll notice I've got summary page, but then surrounding it are double square brackets on either side. When the Moodle wiki sees those double brackets, it turns whatever's inside them into a link. And if the name that is inside those double brackets is not an existing page, it will create or allow you to create that page. So let's say, for the sake of argument, down here that I want to create a new page, and I want to call that page, I'm just going to call it test page. So what I would do is put the two opening square brackets. I would put in test page, and then I put in the two square closing brackets. When I save this page now, you will see that in red there is a new link. And the reason it's in red is because the page, there's no content yet on the page. It's still just a placeholder. It is an active link, but the page hasn't been created yet. So once I've made that link, I then click on it, and it'll ask me what kind of format I want to use. And I would just stick with HTML. You don't even need to know HTML to do it. It's just that's how it formats the page. And I hit create page. And now I can start putting in the information for that page. So this is the text for the page. If I want to have a link back to that instructions page, I could say something like go back to bracket bracket instructions bracket bracket page. If you're linking to an existing page, you've got to make sure that the text you're using is the exact name of the other page. Otherwise, it'll think you're trying to create a new page. But if I do this and then save it, now I've got my test page. It's called test page. Here's the text that I just put in. And now at the bottom, I've got this link, and it's in blue because the instructions page already exists. And if I click on that, it takes me back to instructions. So I've now got a link to the page, and I've got a link back from the page. And you can create as many subpages, as many links. You can get as complicated as you want with the back and forth on all the links. But that is essentially the way a wiki activity works. So if you were to use this in a class, generally it would be some sort of a more involved activity. You might be having your students research a topic, and you might be telling them, okay, research your topic and then go into the wiki and create 3 wiki pages. And on the first one, you should have information about the topic, and on the next one, they should have information about something else. And then what your students would be doing is essentially creating a little mini website that can have images and videos and text and all that stuff embedded in it. But it's all within the Moodle context. So they don't need to go to Wix and create a website. They can essentially create their own website here. So again, the key to the wiki activity is that double square bracket. So if you want to create a new subpage or create a link to an existing page, double square bracket when you're editing the page. So you have to go to edit. But then once you're there, anywhere that these double square brackets show up, it's going to treat whatever's inside those double square brackets as a link. And if it's something that doesn't exist already, then that turns into an editable link. And if it's something that does exist, then it's just a blue link that people can click on and move around. All right. So knowing that the activity tonight is essentially what I was just using as an example, we're going to have two groups. Each group is going to be looking at a couple of videos and then creating three sub pages that talk about the advantages or the strengths of those videos, the weaknesses of the videos, and suggestions for improvement for those videos. So for instance, if you're in group one, in the group one page, there's going to be a couple of videos, and then you're going to be creating the links for those three pages and putting your content on those three pages. So knowing that that is the wiki part of it, are there any questions that I haven't answered in terms of how to actually make the wiki itself work? It'll be 3 pages for each group. So you'll have a strengths page that will cover the strengths for both videos. So if you want to format the page so that it says video 1 strengths and then you talk about that, video 2 strengths and then you talk about that, you can set it up that way or whatever. So it'll be 3 subpages total that address the 2 videos on each of the 3 pages. All right, other questions about the actual wiki creation? All right, so here's the actual activity, and hopefully I will explain this well. And 1 page per person per group. Essentially, Mike, I know we've got one group that's got 4 people in it, and I realized, with 3 pages, because only one person can be editing a given page at a time. So for the 4-person group, maybe you guys just work out some way to make sure everybody gets a chance. If you wanted to, the 4-person group, if you wanted to add one additional page or split the something into 2 pages just so everybody has a chance to edit, you can do it that way. Or if you come up with another plan, whatever you want to come up with there. But essentially, Mike, yes. So basically, coming out of the discussion tonight, one of the things that each group should talk about is sort of what your plan of attack is, so that everybody knows either what page they're responsible for or what content they're responsible for putting on a page. Maybe the 4-person group, 1 person can be responsible for kind of setting up the framework, and then the other people can put in the content or something along those lines. All right, so here, the directions are here, but we read the article already. We already did the summary page. So in the small groups, there are 2 videos for each group. And I realized, actually, off the top of my head, I know in the 520 class, we looked at some videos a couple weeks ago. I think these are all 4 new videos, but it's possible that a couple of these videos might be videos that you may have already seen. But we're looking at them in a slightly different context here, so I think it'll be fine. But anyway, so in each group, I would say start by having everybody in the groups just watch the 2 videos. They're all in the 4 to 5 to 6 minute range, so it should only take maybe 10 minutes to have everybody watch both videos. Okay, Christine. Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I know I'm not. Yeah, I know some of them are new. I think they're all different than the other ones, but I do have some videos I tend to always go back to because they're either they're good instructional examples. I'll just say it that way. So anyway, so everyone will watch the videos. Then I've given 2 chat rooms, and the chat rooms are out here in our class Moodle. And this is where I'm strongly suggesting that before everyone signs off tonight, that you do spend some time as a group in your chat room while everybody is here, because I think that will give some of you a better idea of what the chat interface works like. I know last time, because people were logging in and logging out at different times, it gets tricky to try to see what's already been said in a chat room. So there's 2 chat rooms here, so everybody in a given group can log into their chat room. And what I would suggest is to have a discussion at that point, sort of on 2 frameworks. Maybe just discuss the videos themselves, strengths, weaknesses, suggestions, so that everybody's kind of on the same page in terms of what you want to say about the videos. And then, as we were just saying, also develop a strategy so that the final piece of the activity, which is to create those 3 wiki pages, that leaving the chat room, your group has a plan for who's going to do what in terms of getting those pages created and getting the information put on them that your group wants to put on them. And that's basically the scope of the activity. So as a time framework, I mean, it's 6:30 now, so we're sort of finishing up the full group thing early tonight. Assuming it takes, say, 10 or 15 minutes for everyone to go off and watch their group's 2 videos, that would bring groups back together somewhere in the 6:45, 6:50 time range. Then maybe have a plan for everybody to check in the chat room around that time, around 6:45, 6:50. Once everyone's had a chance to watch the videos, have maybe a 10 or 15-minute discussion in the chat room, come up with a plan, decide what you want to say. And then, like I said, the last piece, the actual creating of the wiki pages, that is really at the individual level. So obviously, if people want to stay on tonight and get those wiki pages created tonight, then the activity is done for you and you're all set. If someone would rather come back and do their piece of the wiki at a later time, that works too, as long as everybody in the group kind of knows what the plan is and when things will get completed and by whom. So that is the activity. Questions? All right, that seems pretty quiet. Okay, well, since basically at this point we'll be signing off the WebEx, what I will do, I'm going to stay in WebEx for at least the next, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes. So if for some reason, I don't know, your group gets the videos watched and then you're trying to get into the chat room and something's not working, or you get into the chat room and you realize you have a question, I will stay. I'll stay in the WebEx until 7. So if the groups have questions, you can come back into the WebEx room, and I'll just be monitoring here in case any questions come up. But other than that, like I said, plan on taking the next 10, 15 minutes to watch the 2 videos that are in your group, then join up in the chat room, decide what your conclusions are about your videos, come up with a plan for how and when and who is going to do the various pieces of the wiki activity. And once that's all set, then everyone can go their separate ways tonight. And next week will be completely asynchronous, online. So sometime Monday or Tuesday, I will activate week 6 so that people can start logging in and seeing what that activity is and what that will involve for the following week. All right, so before we kind of all say good night as a full group here, any last questions, comments, concerns, criticisms? All right. Well, like I said, I will keep the WebEx room open until about 7 o'clock. You see the groups here, so you know who you're working with and which chat room to come back to. And I will actually see most of you tomorrow night, but we'll see you back here in the WebEx room probably in 2 weeks. So enjoy the rest of your evenings and come back here if you've got any questions. Thank you very much.